So I know in your overall plan, reparations is head of the ticket, but you have an actual plan. Can you share? Is it possible for you to share some of the things that's in your actual plan that you're willing to do to fix Black America?
Sure. So the first thing on which I'm running, because you said my slogan, so thank you for that, is repair Black America to fix America. So first and foremost, my plan is reparations. And I feel this is very important to explain. So just bear with me 1 second. I want to address the myths that there are out there about reparations, and then I want to contrast that with the facts. One, reparations is not a payment from white Americans to Black Americans for the harms of chattel slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, lynch mobs, and we know the atrocities go on and on and on because there are people out there on both sides, on the so-called far left and definitely the far right, who will have white people who may be open to supporting reparations, thinking that it's a tax on them for the wrongs that their ancestors may or may not have been involved with doing. No, the debt for reparations comes from the institution that had the responsibility to protect us and to make sure that our constitutional rights were upheld, and that is the American government. Okay, so that's myth number one, and that's fact number one. Number two, very briefly, because it's very important that I say these things. Reparations is not going to bankrupt the economy. That's perhaps the biggest lie I hear from people who say they may be open to supporting reparations, but they feel the amount would just be too high. That is a lie. Here are the facts. The American government is a monetary sovereign. Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, those are just two of the individuals who were the chairman of the Federal Reserve, the institution that gives our American government a credit expansion. Both of them have said in various different ways the American government can never run out of money. It can never not afford to pay its bills. And case in point, when the American government wants to fund the military, do they raise our taxes to do so? No. When they sent out the stimulus checks, did they raise our taxes to do so? No. When they increased unemployment due to the American Rescue Plan just last year, did they increase our taxes? No. As a matter of fact, during that time, we were under historic tax cuts from the Trump administration, and we were giving out money. When they bailed out the airline industry, when they bailed out the banks, when they bailed out the auto industry, our taxes were not raised a penny. As a matter of fact, during that time, we were experiencing tax cuts. The American government is a monetary sovereign. It can print its own money at any time it wants. The thing about which we have to be concerned is inflation. But the American government is not financed by tax, not the federal government. States, yes. Federal, no. They know it, and it's a lie they tell people that they need to raise taxes to pay their bills to scare people from doing policies that will help everyone, such as reparations, but many others from supporting. And number three, last but not least, and I want you to reiterate this, reparations does not go to all Black people. It only goes to freedmen, descendants of those who were enslaved by the American government. Okay? So reparations is number one. Number two is I'm also going to reform the system of heirs property. To make it very quick, heirs property is a system where the landowner dies but did not leave a will, and therefore their descendants can never get equity or become owners of that land. They just all have a share in it, but it keeps them from getting the money of the property that that property is worth. Black Americans in particular were forced into this system. We didn't have any wealth coming out of slavery. We couldn't read and write. A lot of lawyers would not work with Black families, and in some states it was all but illegal for Black families to consult with a lawyer. But a study done in Georgia, North Carolina, Alabama, with just 12 random counties, found out that in those counties, just 12, And Georgia has like almost 150 counties. Just 12 counties, the worth of the property owned by Black Americans was close to $100 billion. So that's just a sample of how much wealth is being locked up in land owned by Black Americans now. I plan to fix that. Number two, I plan to reform the way we finance our public schools. As it stands now, public schools are financed by property taxes. So you're in a richer area, you're going to be in a more resource plenty school. If you are in a poor area, you're going to be in a more resource deprived school. But really, the kids in the poorer areas usually need more resources. I plan to have it where there will be a state standard, and each county can contribute what they can from property taxes to meeting that state standard for each child to have a quality education. But where they are not able to meet that state standard, the federal government will close that gap. Transportation is the other issue. I support the expansion of public transportation features such as high rail and expanding bus routes, but in rural areas, in the district in which I am running to represent in Congress, South Carolina District 6, is 97% rural. Something as simple as a flat tire could put a family beneath the poverty line. But